A former casino CEO with 22 years of floor management experience just confirmed something that contradicts everything you've been told about slot machines. What he revealed in a closed-door interview goes against the official position of every major casino corporation in America. 8 myths you've heard dismissed as conspiracy theories are actually true, and the documentation proves it. Myth number 1: casinos pump oxygen into the building. You've heard this one dismissed 1,000 times, right? Every casino industry spokesperson calls it ridiculous. Every gaming commission says it's not happening. But here's what this former CEO told us. They absolutely did use advanced HVAC systems specifically designed to keep players alert and playing longer. According to internal operational documents, casinos don't pump pure oxygen because that would be illegal and create fire hazards. What they actually do is maintain air circulation rates 40% higher than standard commercial buildings. The temperature is kept at exactly 68 degrees. Humidity levels are monitored every hour. One casino operations manager described their HVAC optimization strategy as environmental control designed to prevent fatigue. Players would sit at machines for 6 or 7 hours and never feel the normal drowsiness that comes from being indoors that long. The psychological manipulation here is that staying alert isn't the same as being aware. You feel awake, so you keep playing, but you've lost track of time completely. One documented case involved a player who genuinely believed he'd been at a machine for 2 hours when security footage showed 5.5. They're not technically pumping oxygen, but what they are doing is creating an artificial environment where your body's natural signals to rest or leave are suppressed. Myth number 2: slot machines near entrances. Pay better. This sounds like wishful thinking from players who hit it big near the door. Casino representatives have denied this for decades. But according to this former CEO, this used to be absolutely true, and here's why. During the 1990s and early 2000s, casino floor managers deliberately placed machines with higher RTP near entrances and main walkways. Internal training materials specified that entrance machines should be set to 92% RTP, while machines in interior sections ran at 88%. The strategy was simple. Players walking past would see others winning, hear the bells and music, and feel compelled to start playing. A former slot director confirmed they called these machines sound machines because the whole point was creating winning sounds that pulled people deeper onto the floor. The practice changed with digital tracking systems that monitor individual player behavior instead of relying on foot traffic patterns. But here's what makes this even more manipulative. Even though entrance machines paid slightly better, they were also programmed with higher volatility, meaning bigger wins that created more noise but longer losing streaks between bonuses. So yes, you might have a better RTP, but you'd burn through your bankroll faster chasing those attention-grabbing jackpots. And if you think that's surprising, myth number 3 is going to shock you. Myth number 3: machines go hot and cold. Walk through any casino and you'll hear players talking about machines being hot or cold like it's an established fact. Industry experts dismiss this as gambler's fallacy, insisting that every spin is completely independent. But here's what the former CEO revealed that changes everything. The myth is true, but not for the reason you think. According to internal programming documentation, modern slot machines don't have hot and cold cycles built into their code. What actually happens is that variance clustering creates statistically predictable patterns that feel exactly like hot and cold streaks. A former slot technician who worked for IGT explained it this way. Random number generators produce outcomes that, over short sessions of 100 to 300 spins, will cluster in ways that appear non-random. You'll see machines pay out 3 bonuses in 50 spins, then nothing for 200 spins. The mathematics are sound. It's genuinely random, but randomness over small samples creates these patterns. One player tracked 500 consecutive spins on a Buffalo Gold machine and documented that bonus triggers came in clusters of 2 or 3, separated by long dry spells of 80 to 120 spins. That's not programmed behavior. That's probability in action. Here's the insidious part. Casinos know this happens and they never correct the myth because it benefits them. When players believe a machine is cold, they leave. When they believe a machine is hot, they stay and they keep feeding it. Internal training materials for floor supervisors actually reference hot and cold perception as a player retention tool. So, yes, machines go hot and cold, but it's the math doing exactly what it's designed to do, and casinos exploit your interpretation of that math. Myth number 4: the casino knows when you're about to win big. This sounds like paranoid conspiracy thinking, but according to the CEO, modern slot systems absolutely track this information in real time. Server-based gaming technology connects every machine to central monitoring systems that analyze exactly where each player is in their session. These systems track total amount wagered, current loss amount, time at machine, bonus trigger history, and proximity to statistical payout thresholds. A former floor manager described what he could see on his tablet: every active player, their current session loss, and a predictive algorithm that estimated when significant wins were statistically likely based on the machine's volatility model and current cycle position. Documentation from IGT's Advantage system shows casinos can monitor individual game outcomes as they happen. They know when you're 200 spins into a game, that typically triggers a bonus every 150 spins. They know when you're approaching the mathematical threshold where a significant payout becomes more probable. One documented case involved a high-value player at a Las Vegas property who was approached by a host and offered a dinner comp exactly 4 minutes before hitting a 1,200 times jackpot on DragonLink. The player accepted, left the machine, and someone else hit the jackpot on the next spin. Coincidence? The former CEO said floor managers are trained to identify players approaching significant win thresholds and offer incentives to move them. They know more about your session than you do, and they use that information strategically. But myth number 5 reveals something even more disturbing about what they track. Before we continue, I need you to do something that helps content like this reach the people who need to see it. If this information is valuable to you, subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments which of these myths has surprised you the most so far. The most shocking. Revelations are still coming, and you're going to want to see what gets exposed next. Myth number 5. Slot clubs make you lose more. Players argue about this constantly. Some insist their slot club card tracks their play and makes machines tighter. Casino representatives call this absurd, insisting the card only records wagers for comp purposes. But the former CEO admitted something that validates every suspicious player who ever thought their card was cursed. This is technically true, and it's by design. According to internal systems documentation, modern slot management platforms have the capability to assign different RTP configurations based on whether a player is using a slot club card. The technology exists in what's called dynamic RTP adjustment, and it's fully legal in multiple jurisdictions. A former slot director at a major Atlantic City property explained the strategy in internal emails that were part of a regulatory filing. Carded play was configured to run at 87.5% RTP, while uncarded play on the same machines ran at 88%. That's only a 0.5% difference, but here's why it matters. Over a 4-hour session, betting $3 a spin at 600 spins per hour, that 0.5% difference equals an additional $43 in losses. The casino's calculation was simple. They could afford to give you $43 worth of comps because they'd already extracted an extra $43 from tighter RTP. One player who suspected this spent 6 months testing the theory. He played 50 sessions carded and 50 sessions uncarded on the same bank of machines, tracking every result. His carded sessions averaged 22% higher losses per hour. That's not coincidence, and it's not variance over 100 sessions. The programming allows for this, the regulations permit it, and the economics make perfect sense for the casino. You're being rewarded for losing more efficiently. The free buffet cost them $8. The extra hold from your carded play gave them $43. You felt like a winner because you got a free meal. Myth number 6. Casino employees know which machines are about to hit. This sounds like the kind of wishful thinking that gets people in trouble, like there's some secret insider knowledge that could help you win. But here's what the CEO confirmed that changes everything. Some employees absolutely have access to this information. Modern slot systems have different permission levels, and certain positions can view data that regular players never see. Slot technicians, floor managers, and system administrators can access jackpot history, cycle position data, and statistical proximity indicators that show when machines are approaching payout thresholds. A former slot technician described the diagnostic tools he used daily. He could pull up any machine and see its last 500 spins, bonus trigger frequency, current cycle position relative to average, and total coin in since last major payout. When a machine showed $8,000 coin in with no significant payout on a game that averaged major wins every $6,000, he knew that machine was statistically due. Gaming Commission investigations have documented cases of employees exploiting this access. One incident in Pennsylvania involved a slot technician whose family members hit jackpots at a rate that was statistically impossible without inside information. The odds of the pattern being random were calculated at 1 in 47,000. Current regulations require casinos to restrict this access and monitor employee family member play, but the former CEO admitted the data exists and people who know where to look can absolutely use it. Now, myth 7 takes this to an even darker place. Myth number 7, casinos can change payouts remotely. For years, players have suspected this was happening, and for years, casino representatives have dismissed it as technically impossible conspiracy theory nonsense. But according to this former CEO with modern server-based gaming systems, the answer is absolutely yes, and it's completely legal in multiple jurisdictions. The technology that makes this possible is called server-based gaming, and it fundamentally changed how slot machines operate. Unlike older standalone machines that required physical EEPROM chip replacement to change payout percentages, server-based machines receive their game configuration from central servers. In Nevada, Gaming Regulation 14.040 specifically permits remote RTP adjustments as long as the machine is idle and proper notification procedures are followed. The Nevada Gaming Control Board requires a 4-minute idle period before changes take effect and mandates that the new payout percentage appear on an available menu screen, though almost no player ever checks that screen. A former vice president of slot operations described the decision-making process in internal strategy documents. During major conventions when the property was at capacity, they would remotely lower RTP on 40% of their floor machines from 90% to 87% because they knew demand was guaranteed regardless of payout performance. During slow periods, they'd increase RTP on select machines to 92% to generate winning excitement and social media posts. One player documented his experience on the same Buffalo Diamond machine over 8 visits across 4 months. He tracked RTP performance through detailed session logs and discovered the machine performed at approximately 91% during his February and March sessions, then dropped to what calculated out to roughly 86% during April visits that coincided with a major convention. When he brought his documentation to casino management, they confirmed that remote adjustments had been made and explained it was entirely legal under state gaming regulations. Here's the technicality that makes it legal. The machine's advertised RTP range is typically listed as something like 85% to 94%, so any adjustment within that range is considered compliant. You think you're playing a 92% game, but they changed it to 86% yesterday. And you'd never know unless you check the advanced menu system that requires 3 specific button combinations to access. The former CEO explained it this way. Physical EEPROM chips created accountability because changing them required paperwork, approval, and physical documentation. Server-based systems let us optimize hold percentage in real time based on customer demand, and the regulatory framework was built to accommodate casino revenue needs, not player protection. Myth number 8, slot tournaments are rigged for new players. Experienced tournament players have suspected this for years, and it sounds like the excuse of sore losers who can't accept that beginners get lucky sometimes. But this former CEO admitted something that validates every suspicion those experienced players ever had. Casino operators absolutely structured tournaments to favor new players, and the mathematics behind the strategy are documented in internal marketing materials. The reasoning is pure customer acquisition economics. A slot tournament costs the casino a fixed amount: the prize pool, the tournament mode machine time, and the staff overhead. That's typically between $15,000 and $40,000 for a weekend tournament. What they're buying with that investment is the conversion of new players into loyal customers. Internal marketing documents from a major strip property calculated that a tournament winner who was new to the casino had a lifetime value of approximately $12,000 if they could be converted into a regular player. An experienced local player who'd been coming for years had almost no incremental lifetime value. The math was simple: let the newcomer win. One former tournament director explained the tactics in a deposition related to a player dispute. Tournament brackets were arranged so newer players faced easier competition in early rounds. Machines selected for newcomer sections were set to tournament mode configurations that triggered bonuses 18% more frequently than machines in veteran sections. A statistical analysis of tournament results from one major casino chain showed that over 200 tournaments held across 3 years, players in their first or second tournament won 41% of the time, despite representing only 23% of participants. The probability of that distribution occurring randomly was calculated at less than 1 in 8,000. One regular tournament player documented the pattern over 18 months and 47 tournaments. He noted that newcomers he'd never seen before would win, play regularly for 2 or 3 months, then disappear, while experienced players almost never took first place, despite clearly superior skills at managing tournament time and bonus strategies. When he presented his findings to management, a floor supervisor told him off the record that tournaments weren't about rewarding skill. They were about creating winners who'd come back and feed the regular machines. The tournament itself was the marketing expense, and your skill never mattered. These 8 myths reveal something much bigger about how casino operations actually function, and understanding the pattern changes everything. Notice what connects all 8 of these myths. Every single one is technically true because it serves casino profit optimization. Nothing you've just learned happened by accident. Everything in a casino environment is intentional, measured, tested, and refined over decades of behavioral research and operational data. This former CEO explained it in a moment of remarkable candor during the interview. Every decision made on a casino floor, from air temperature to machine placement to tournament structure, exists because it mathematically increases revenue per square foot. These aren't myths that happen to be true. These are operational strategies that casinos deliberately allow players to dismiss as myths because the dismissal itself serves their purpose. Look at how each piece fits into a larger system. The HVAC optimization isn't just about keeping you awake. It's part of what internal training materials call environmental optimization, the practice of controlling every physical variable that affects how long you stay and how much you wager. The machine placement strategy isn't just about creating excitement at entrances. It's part of traffic flow engineering, a comprehensive approach to moving players from door to deeper floor positions where higher hold machines wait. The hot and cold. Perception isn't a flaw in randomness. It's variance psychology, the exploitation of how human beings interpret statistical clustering. The real-time player tracking isn't just data collection. It's predictive player management, the capability to intervene before significant wins occur. The slot club RTP difference isn't a technical glitch. It's loyalty exploitation, extracting extra revenue from your most committed customers while rewarding them with comps that cost pennies on the dollar. The employee access to machine data isn't a security failure. It's information asymmetry, the fundamental advantage casinos maintain by knowing everything while you know nothing. The remote payout changes aren't occasional adjustments. They're dynamic hold management, the ability to optimize revenue based on demand fluctuations. The tournament structure favoring newcomers isn't accidental fairness, it's acquisition investment, spending money to create winners who become long-term losers. The CEO described this comprehensive approach during his years running casino operations. We called it total environment engineering. New floor managers went through 3 weeks of training that covered psychology, mathematics, technology systems, and behavioral observation. Corporate strategy documents outlined how every element worked together. The evolution happened gradually from the 1980s through the present, with each technological advancement making these tactics more precise and less visible. Digital systems didn't make any of these myths less true. They made them more true because monitoring, adjustment, and optimization became instantaneous instead of manual. Here's what this means in practical terms. Imagine a player entering a casino on a Saturday night when the property is at 95% capacity. That player is experiencing all 8 tactics simultaneously. The HVAC system is suppressing fatigue signals. The entrance machines are creating winning sounds with high volatility, programming. The random number generators are producing variance clusters the player interprets as hot and cold machines. The server system is tracking every spin and calculating statistical payout proximity. The slot club card is triggering a slightly tighter RTP configuration. Floor managers with system access are monitoring approaching threshold indicators. The machines themselves might have been remotely adjusted yesterday to lower RTP during peak demand. And if that player enters a tournament, the bracket structure has already been optimized to favor newcomers over veterans. The mathematical impact of all 8 tactics operating simultaneously can add up to an additional 15 to 20% in total player loss compared to a theoretical neutral environment. Over a typical 4-hour visit, that's the difference between losing $400 and losing $480, and the player attributes the entire loss to bad luck. The former CEO explained why he ultimately left the industry after 22 years. But here's what you can do with this information. Now you know the truth about these 8 myths that casinos spent decades telling you weren't real. You understand that HVAC optimization creates artificial alertness that masks time perception. You've learned that entrance machine placement was a deliberate traffic engineering strategy, using sound to pull you deeper onto the floor. You recognize that hot and cold streaks are variance clustering that casinos exploit by never correcting player interpretation. You've seen documentation that modern server systems track your statistical proximity to significant wins in real time. You know that slot club cards can trigger different RTP configurations that extract additional losses while rewarding you with comps worth a fraction of that extra hold. You understand that certain employees have diagnostic access to cycle position data and jackpot proximity indicators that give them information you'll never have. You've learned that server-based gaming allows legal remote payout adjustments within broad RTP ranges, letting casinos optimize hold percentage based on demand without you ever knowing the game changed. And you've discovered that tournament structures are deliberately designed to favor newcomers as a customer acquisition investment, making your skill irrelevant compared to their marketing objectives. You're now part of the small percentage of players who understand what's actually happening on a casino floor. This is what casino executives know when they walk through their properties. While other players believe these are myths dismissed by experts, you have documentation, internal testimony, and mathematical proof that every single one is operational reality. Here's how to use this information in practical terms. Recognize that environmental comfort is designed to suppress your natural fatigue signals, so set a phone timer for every 90 minutes and force yourself to leave the building for 15 minutes, regardless of how alert you feel. Understand that machines near entrances and walkways use high volatility to create attention-grabbing wins, so if you're going to play, move to interior sections where RTP might be comparable, but volatility is lower and your bankroll lasts longer. Accept that hot and cold streaks are mathematical reality, not machine programming, which means chasing a hot machine or abandoning a cold one is responding to variance exactly how casinos want you to respond. Know that your entire session is being monitored by systems that understand your statistical position better than you do. So when a host approaches with an offer at a statistically convenient moment, recognize the intervention for what it is. Consider whether slot club benefits actually compensate for the potential RTP reduction. And test this yourself by tracking carded versus uncarded sessions over meaningful sample sizes. Remember that floor employees have access to data you don't, and when you see staff members or their families playing specific machines repeatedly, that's information asymmetry in action. Check your state's gaming regulations to understand whether remote RTP adjustment is legal in your jurisdiction. And if it is, recognize that the machine's performance can change between your visits based on demand optimization. And if you're considering slot tournaments, understand that they're marketing investments designed to create winners who become regular players, not competitive events where skill determines outcomes. These tactics are becoming more sophisticated as technology advances. Artificial intelligence systems are being integrated into player tracking platforms that don't just monitor your current session, but predict your future behavior based on pattern analysis across millions of players. Machine learning algorithms will soon optimize RTP configurations at the individual player level, adjusting your specific experience based on your demonstrated price sensitivity and loyalty indicators. Facial recognition technology is being tested that will identify you the moment you enter the property and trigger your player profile before you even insert a card. Regulatory oversight isn't keeping pace with these technological capabilities because gaming commissions in most jurisdictions are funded by the industry they're supposed to regulate. The former CEO described attending industry innovation conferences where companies demonstrated predictive intervention systems that would make everything you've learned today look primitive. What I have shared with you is already being superseded by systems that are exponentially more sophisticated at extracting maximum revenue from every player interaction. The CEO's final message was direct and unambiguous. I revealed this information because informed consent matters, and what's happening on casino floors has moved beyond entertainment into systematic behavioral exploitation that most players don't understand and can't recognize. The industry will call this disclosure irresponsible or inaccurate, but every single detail comes from documented operational practices, regulatory filings, internal communications, and sworn testimony. You deserve to know how the environment is designed to work against you. If this information gave you an understanding you didn't have before, then subscribe to this channel so you don't miss what gets revealed next. Hit the like button because it genuinely helps other people find content that casinos would prefer stayed buried. And let me know in the comments which myth shocked you the most, because your perspective helps shape what gets investigated next. The next video exposes what happens in casino surveillance rooms that floor managers never tell you about. And the documentation is even more disturbing than what you just learned. I've been inside these operations for over 2 decades. I know how every system works and why every decision gets made. Now, you do too.